A lot of people don't even know this is a real site, so they were touching the walls as if it was religious experience or something. It was amazing. Ready to go? All right. I'm Sherry Cassel. I'm the Park Interpreter here at the Old Las Vegas Mormon Fort, Nevada State Park. And right now you're in the museum, our visitor center. We have historic grounds, the oldest standing building in the entire state of Nevada is right here on this property. And I'd like to tell you a little about the timeline here at the Old Las Vegas Mormon Fort. We always start with the Southern Pyute. Before we all came along, the Southern Pyute were here and are still here. We never talk about the indigenous people in the past. But they were here first. So when the Mormon pioneers landed here at this state park, which was just land then, they encountered the Pyute. In fact, the Mormons came here to proselytize the Pyute Indians. But they are nomadic people, and I think it's fascinating to talk about Southern Pyute because they lived on the land. And when I start tours here, and I always say, just imagine standing here and everything you need, your hardware store, your grocery store, your pharmacy, your Home Depot is right here on this land. And we walk around and talk about the plants here. For example, mesquite beans, that was a food source. Or cattails that were in the water were a food source. The roots of the cattails are like potatoes. So that's a great food source. The bean pods, they would mash into a meal like a fine flour and either boil the beans or cook the flour. So that's their food source. And then they'd use arrowweed, which grows right along the creek. And they'd use that for their shelter, which is a wickiup or a con for above ground shelter. And what else were we? Some pharmacy. There's a cattail tree that the Southern Pyute use as medicinal. So everything the Southern Pyute needed was growing right here on this property. And all that was growing because the Las Vegas Creek went right through here. The Southern Pyute, as I said, still exists today at the Pyute Colony a block away from here. And they've been around for millennia. So we always honor and regard them as friends and the stewards of this land originally.
Do the Pyute and the Mormons have an active hand in this fort still? Do they come by and Pyute, do they honor it, or the Mormons do something to?
Well, the Southern Pyute don't have much to do with the park anymore. We always welcome them. We used to have an Indigenous Peoples Day here. So occasionally, yes, we do have them for events. They will come and do dancing here. We'd like to incorporate them more in maybe talks and presentations. As far as the Mormon Church, there's not much activity here, but we have a Friends of the Fort group and the Daughters of the Utah Pioneers. They play a crucial role in the wellness of this place. They are volunteer organizations. And for example, the Daughters of the Utah Pioneers played a key role in the preservation of the oldest building in Nevada. Had they not insisted that building be preserved through 170 years, we might not be standing in a park today. Once a month, those ladies come and clean the Adobe building. The Friends of the Fort meet every month, and they are crucial in popular events here and fundraising for those events. So in that capacity, they do play a role. Whether they are Mormon or not is neither here nor there, but most of them are, and they play a crucial role in volunteering here.
At what point did Las Vegas or the people realize that this was such a historical site?
Well, the Daughters of the Utah Pioneers always thought it was a historical site, but it wasn't until the 1990s when this became a state park that it was actually recognized as a place to be preserved and honored for all time. And that's when it became a state park in 1991.
So up until that point, it was just ruins in the middle of the city.
Yeah, it was changing hands. I guess I should start how it got here. In 1855, Mormon missionaries came from Salt Lake City, sent by Brigham Young. And this was a trade route between Salt Lake City and San Bernardino, so they thought they should have a post here. And as I mentioned earlier, they wanted to convert the Southern Pyute and share their religion. So they decided this would be a good spot because of the water that ran through here. I know that seems not normal to be speaking about water in the Mojave Desert, but because we have the Las Vegas Creek going right through here, this was the optimal site to build a fort. So in 1855, they did that. And they met the Pyute. And the Pyute actually helped build the bricks, the Adobe bricks that were needed to build this fort. So hand in hand, they worked together to build the fort in 1855.
Two questions that come to mind when you say that. Where did the water start and end in modern Las Vegas? And then what did they build the Adobe bricks out with?
That's a great question, because the water starts and ends in modern Las Vegas the same way it did in 1855. It's rather fascinating. It starts at a place called Springs Preserve. Back in 1855, they titled that the Big Springs. And it's the headwaters of an aquifer that sits underground. And the water would just bubble up out of the springs, cascade down this giant bench or hill that we're on, through the Las Vegas Valley, go underground, and eventually make its way to the Colorado River through geology under the ground. So that is still the case today. Springs Preserve is still there. The big springs are still there. However, the aquifer that feeds the water is being regulated by the city of Las Vegas. Back in the day, everybody tapped into it with wells to the point it was being overused. It could not refill quickly enough to supplement the wells. So the city of Las Vegas, or the Las Vegas Valley Water District, decided we need to do something about that. So everybody stop drilling, and we're going to regulate what happens with the aquifer. And to this day, that still happens. The aquifer is never allowed to bubble up out of the springs and cascade here anymore. We have a recreation of the Las Vegas Creek that used to go through here, because what would this site be without water? So it was important that we recreated the creek, even though it no longer flows through here.
And then what was the bricks made out of?
The bricks, that's a great question too. The bricks are Adobe, so they're sand, mud, water, and if it was available, maybe grass or hay. Oftentimes they would use animal poop because it had grass or hay in it. But ours are primarily sand, mud, and water. And there's these beautiful forms that they created out of wood. There's one hanging back here on the ceiling. They would make this Adobe consistency about like peanut butter. And then they'd slap it in these forms that would lie on the ground, and they'd let it dry. It could dry in a week or 30 days, depending on the time of year. But don't forget, these Mormon missionaries came here in 1855 in June, and it was blazing hot. So it's likely they dried rather quickly. And they built those while they created the bricks on the ground. And then they would stack these bricks up to make a fort. Each wall was 150 feet long, and there were 4 of those. There were 2 tall wooden gates and 2 bastions, 2 towers on the corners. And we estimate that we think it took over 80,000 bricks to do. It took them 6 to 7 months to make the fort, but they did with the help of the Pyute. So they would make this peanut butter consistency mud and sand, let it dry, and then start stacking.
Were the bricks held together, or were they just stacked?
They were just stacked.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. In fact, our recreation of the fort out there, you'll see, we recreated the fort the same way. They built Adobe brick by brick, to recreate the fort and stack them. And we had a little secret ingredient in ours, though. In modern day, we added cement. Because if you didn't do that, because it's Adobe, it would just disintegrate over time. So ours have a little cement to help them last a little longer. In fact, when we go into the Adobe building, the original 1855 section that's still there, you'll see some of the original Adobe bricks still in the wall. We've created a cutaway. Most of it's covered by stucco to protect those bricks so that they don't disintegrate. But we've put some cutaways so that you can actually see the original bricks.
So how long was the fort in use, and then why did the people leave?
So the Mormon missionaries came here in 1855, and within 6 to 7 months they finished the fort. And wouldn't you know it, by 1857 they were called back to Salt Lake City by Brigham Young. They were pretty successful at first. They had crops growing, they had a relationship with the Pyute, everything was pretty copacetic. And occasionally new missionaries would come and trade out, but the original group was 30 men that came here. And They, like I said, grew crops. They were proselytizing the Southern Pyute, had a relationship. But as time went on, things got more difficult. The weather was a part. The relationship with the Pyutes was disintegrating, and there was dissension among themselves too. They wanted to go mine for ore. That wasn't very successful. So there was this culmination of things, including perhaps the conflict with the Mormons and the U.S. government. That's when the Utah War started as well. So there's a lot of stuff going on, and Brigham Young called them all back and quite literally abandoned the fort that they built in only 2 years.
And how long did it set before somebody else came?
It wasn't very long that it sat abandoned. There were a couple of guys who came and thought, well, we can make this a way station. This is by water. People are traveling through here. And it changed hands many times, but it didn't take long for people to realize that it was a place worth preserving. In fact, the most prominent person that next came was a person called O.D. Gass. And he came in the 1860s and decided to create a ranch here. He was the first one to repurpose the bricks into homes and do other things right here on the property. And then after that, O.D. Gass defaulted on a loan to somebody named the Stewards. The Stewards came, and they came from Pyute to live here and made this a ranch for 20 years. And that took them into the 1900s. And then the Las Vegas Railroad bought it, and they auctioned off the land to become the city of Las Vegas. We often call this the birthplace of Las Vegas.
It is the oldest standing building.
Yeah, it is the oldest standing structure in Nevada.
Wow.
There were older structures in Nevada, but they've dilapidated or burned or been destructed somehow. But this one is the one still standing. Original fort walls are still out there standing.
How does Helen Jane Weiser Stewart play into this whole?
Huge. I am actually shocked it's not called Helen Jane Stewart State Park, and the old Las Vegas Mormon Fort. She's so significant, you can't understate her relevance to the city of Las Vegas. She came along, and this amazes me. She and her husband came here, and at the time they might have had 3 or 4 children. And not long after they got here, Archibald went over to a nearby ranch, Kyle Ranch. Think of this in 80s. There was the Stewart Ranch in the middle, which is where we're standing now, and maybe 5 other people living in the valley outside of the Southern Pyute. A conflict happened while Helen was here and Archie was gone. When he came back, he wanted to resolve that conflict. So he went to the Kyle Ranch to take it up with the folks there, and unfortunately was shot in a gunfight. So here's Helen with 4 children by herself on a ranch that's hundreds of acres. And she persevered. She was pregnant with a 5th child when this happened. She buried Archie in a family cemetery that's not far from here. And this was, like I said, in the first couple of years she was here, and she stayed for decades. She became the first postmaster here. She was on the Board of Education. She was so relevant to Las Vegas history. It's hard to understate her, like I said. And she's the one who decided, after this had happened, to buy up more land and get more water rights. And she had this foresight that we can't even imagine. And when she did that, and the railroad decided Las Vegas was the place they wanted to be, they wanted all of that. And she sold that to them. And not long after that, they auctioned it off to become the city of Las Vegas. Had she not done that, we might see Las Vegas differently than we do today.
Why do you think that people overlook her so much? I mean, from the story you just told, we should have a lot of roads named after her.
Right.
Parks.
Right.
Why do you think that is?
Why would she have been overlooked? I just think history is a hard sell. And it could be because she was a woman. But she tried very hard to establish clubs and maintain the history here. And the Mesquite Club was part of her doing things like that. So she's very relevant. Why she was overlooked or why it's different, I'm not sure. I can't say, really.
I can't imagine what it was like. I mean, if you just take gender out of it, I mean, living out in the middle of nowhere with very limited supplies.
And 5 children, right?
And then you have 5 children.
She was a really good partner with the Pyute. They helped her considerably. She had a very good relationship with them. She also had her father who stepped in and helped her, and brothers and friends. The other ranch owners helped her too. There's evidence that there's a direct relation between here and Spring Mountain Ranch out by Red Rock Canyon. There is evidence of her relation with the Kyle Ranch, which is not far from here, and all the other ranches. They all knew each other. So it was a community for the most part, outside of what happened to Archie at Kyle Ranch.
Did the railroad come through this part of town and then it got taken up, or where did it go?
The railroad goes through near downtown Las Vegas, Fremont Street, where the Union Plaza is. That's where they established, and it still is there. I can hear the railroad from here when it choo-choos by, right by the Pyute colony. The railroad is still here. It was and is a relevant part of transportation of goods and people. Now we're in the oldest standing building in the entire state of Nevada at the old Las Vegas Mormon Fort State Historic Park. This building doesn't look as old as I'm saying, right, in 1855, but it's gone through a lot of transitions since it was originally built in 1855. The only original portions of this building is the west wall and the end room down there. All of the bricks along my left and back in that room are from 1855, built out of sand and mud, Adobe bricks, and they're original to the site. And the reason it looks so different is because, as I mentioned, it's transitioned to many things over the years. Probably the most significant transition, Bureau of Reclamation, came through, and they decided that this would be the site that they would do concrete testing. In fact, this became a science lab or laboratory. So they decided right here, because there was already a foundation of a building, they would repurpose this building into their science lab. When they came, and this was 1929, to decide whether this would be appropriate for a lab, it was really in ruins. It was just a wall standing up and an end room. And they decided that they would use that and repurpose it. So they built a brick wall around the remainder of it that wasn't dilapidated, and used this to test concrete samples to find the perfect ingredients or formula or recipe for building Hoover Dam. Why they decided to do this in Las Vegas and not at the dam, I'm not sure. It could be more that they were administrative and scientists and they were just looking for a building, which was very scarce in that era, and they decided to use this. So you see there's a concrete floor that was poured by the Bureau of Reclamation. They put a ceiling in and made more walls, and they put doors and windows in. So they took what was a wall and a tower at the end and repurposed it into a building. And that makes it the oldest standing structure in Nevada. Now, I think the historic content of it being associated with Hoover Dam is really, really neat. What you're looking at today has been preserved since 1929, and that in itself is historic in my mind. There's also these really neat cylinders as you walk through this building. You'll see them on the floor. Those are actually concrete samples from the testing period that still remain here. I don't know if any of them is the ingredient or recipe they use for the dam, but it's really neat that samples, core samples, are still here in this building.
What was this building used? You went over the core samples and stuff, and obviously it was the fort. Was this used as like a general store or anything like that throughout history? What was...
Yeah, you heard me skip from 1855 to 1929, but in between, it was many, many things. When OD gas came through here, this was once a blacksmith shop. There was sundries in here. Yes, this was a way station where they sold things. So between OD Gas and Helen Stewart and the railroad, this was used for many things. But near the end of the era, we'll say like in the 1950s and 60s, it became a dilapidated building. But the Daughters of the Utah Pioneers, I get back to them again, they insisted no matter what condition this building was in, that they preserve it. And they did. And there was actually people living in here at one point, the way that you see it. Can you imagine that right now? It's a balmy 80-degree day here in Nevada, in Las Vegas, but it's a little warm in here. We don't have the windows open, but there's no air conditioning. There's a little bit of electricity. You can see light bulbs, which is more modern. That was installed in the 1929-1930 era. And there were people, Daughters of the Utah Pioneers used to have a woman that lived in here just to protect it so that nobody would break in.
When you say way station, does that mean it was like a general store, or were they actually weighing things?
No, that's a great question. When I mean way station, I mean way as on the way from one point to another, rather than W-E-I-G-H, it's W-A-Y. And so, like I said, there was water here, there is water here, and they grew crops. It's amazing. You wouldn't believe over the decades and years that this has been a site. There were apples, pears, corn, wheat, you name the fruit. We currently on site have pecans, walnuts, pomegranates, all kinds of things growing, apricots. It's with water, you can do anything, and with water brings people. So it was a stopover traveler site. And here we are at what I consider one of my favorite places at the fort and the best kept secret in Las Vegas. This is a replica of the old Las Vegas Creek. Now, back in 1855, when the Mormon missionaries in the Southern Pyute were here, this was an abundantly flowing creek, a few feet wide, and I've heard at places 4 feet deep, with waterfalls along the way. This water, originally in 1855 and prior, was fed by an aquifer and a spring that's 3 miles west of here at a place called Springs Preserve. Now, the springs are no longer allowed for water to bubble up and cascade down this beautiful bench and hill we are here in Las Vegas. But the aquifer is still there. The city of Las Vegas, the Las Vegas Valley Water District, and the Southern Nevada Water Authority regulate that aquifer. The aquifer naturally fills from the snow melt in the spring mountains west of here. And then over thousands of years, that water filters through the ground and makes it through the creek. This creek comes above ground and then goes back below ground and eventually might make it to the Colorado River. 10% of our water comes from the aquifers that are below the Las Vegas Valley floor. 90% of it comes from the Colorado River. And this sustains all life. This is a great place for a picnic. We see hawks here, roadrunners, hummingbirds take baths in this creek. Even though this is a recreation, it still brings life. All the greenery here is growing because of the water that's flowing here and below ground underneath our feet.
Can you tell us about some of the unique architecture in this building?
I'd be glad to. I think this building's amazing. When Nevada State Parks decided they were going to make a state park out of this area, Visitor Center and the grounds were foremost in thoughts on how to do it. They hired architect Eric Strain, and this was his first project. They did intensive research in the Southwest on how to incorporate Western elements and historic elements into the Visitor Center. For example, this glass panel right here that goes all the way through the wall, there are 3 of them. This is to represent water, because without water, we wouldn't have this state park. So this is to represent water. And you'll find these features in our restroom walls as well. And we have, to represent the railroad history here, we have a beautiful steel door up at the front of the Visitor Center that is on kind of a pivot or a fulcrum. And that is to represent the train car box door. And what else? Originally, our air conditioning duct season was, duct system was fabric, and that was to represent the covered wagon canvas. And we have some bricks outside. Instead of a traditional block wall, Eric Strain decided that he would stagger them so they look like Adobe bricks or mountains. So there's a lot of intent and intentional elements in this building. From 2005 is when this was built. It was 20 years old this year, but it stands the test of time. It looks like the day they built it, and it's kind of timeless. It'll pass on this way, and we do our best to preserve it.
What's great about it, when I walked in, I couldn't tell when it was built because it looks old, but it looks very modern. And I think that he really nailed it for it to be a timeless thing, like you said.
He did. There's another element you'll see as you're walking up the parking lot to the visitor center. There are all these grasses out front, and there's this ramp that weaves through the grasses. Eric Strain intentionally did that so that you would feel like what it was to be a pioneer going through the desert and the grasses before you even came in. So many intentional elements. We had a guest lecture series several years ago, and he was our guest. And this is where I learned all these little secrets that he incorporated. We later installed stairs, and he refused to use the stairs. He's like, no, you got to go through the grasses and come up the ramp so you know what it was like to be a pioneer.
That's really unique in this day and age that people are putting that much thought into a building, because if you look around, all the new buildings just seem like blocks, and like there's no soul or life into it. So he really captured something special here.
He did. It was, like I said, it was his first project, so he really, really put elements into it I don't think you'll find anywhere else. I think this building in itself is worth preserving over time in history. There are glass windows with etchings of quotes and maps that are just beautiful. In fact, Ice Age Fossil State Park is our newest state park, and they used some of the design elements from here to build theirs, and you'll see some similarities in that. All right, let's talk about fallout in the old Las Vegas Mormon fort. I don't know why we're so far behind in the game, but about 5 years ago, we found out, and kind of discreetly, that this place is in a video game that was created in 2010 called Fallout New Vegas. Originally, fans were coming in here and discreetly, we didn't even know they were fans, kind of creeping around. They paid their admission and they were looking, but they knew this was in the game. And when we started realizing that, we thought, well, we need to open our arms to these people and find out more about it. So the previous interpreter of the old Las Vegas Mormon fort's name was Carson, and it happened to be a Friends of the Fort member named Cindy knew about Fallout. One of them played that. Cindy played the game, and Carson and Cindy got together and said, how can we welcome Fallout fans here at the fort? And since then, we've grown into really embracing Fallout. In the video game, Fallout New Vegas, this is a post-apocalyptic time, and this particular site is a hospital. The followers of the apocalypse is what the people are that man the fort in the game. And they're into well-being and goodness and kindness. And we embrace that. So behind me, you'll see this flag is the followers of the apocalypse symbol. And we have a followers of the apocalypse lab coat because they're like doctors. We really embrace that. And also in the game, which is really cool, that all of these things is we're discovering. I discover something new about Fallout every time I talk to a Fallout fan, which is almost every day here at the fort. You have to discover these snow globes hidden throughout the game. And there happens to be one here at the old Las Vegas Mormon fort. So we put a snow globe where it is in the game, here on the actual site. So there's a bastion outside, or a tower. And in the game, the snow globe is up in the tower. If you go out onto our grounds, we only tell Fallout fans this. You'll look up into the Bastion, and while you can't climb up there, we do have mirrors so that you can see everything that's planted up there, including the snow globe, like the game. We also sell the snow globes. We decided to embrace it. We calculate that about at least 30% of our fan base is Fallout fans. Now that we're embracing it, when they come in, we actually know it because they start looking at the snow globes, they start looking at the display we have here, and then we engage them. So it's really cool. And last year was our first year. This is our second year. We're tying ourselves with the event that the Pioneer Saloon has. So there's this thing called Fallout Days in November. Thousands of Fallout fans come from all over the world to this event and to Las Vegas just to go to the places in Fallout New Vegas. And so this year, again, we're collaborating with the Pioneer Saloon, and we'll have bus trips. So we'll take people from the Pioneer Saloon to here and the Atomic Museum and back to the Pioneer Saloon. And when we do that for Fallout Fan Days in November, we really convert the fort to look like the game rather than the historic site it is. We put up things that you might find in the game, like tents and sandbags, whatever makes it look post-apocalyptic, we do that here. And we really, really try to go all out for Fallout fans in November.
How much of the business that comes to the fort would you say are Fallout fans?
I'd say at least 30% of the people that come here are Fallout fans. If they acknowledge that they are, like I said early on, people, if they didn't come in costume, we had no idea. We have people come in costume, and we embrace that. That's cool that they come in costume. But like I said, now we know who our Fallout fans are. I'm thinking of somehow trying to track that so that we can acknowledge how many we actually have, but it's at least 30% of our visitor base.
Does it cost extra to take the bus to go from the Pioneer Saloon to here to the...
For Fallout Fan Days, that is cost. Our Friends of the Fort organization is the one who coordinates that with Pioneer Saloon. So it is an expense to ride the bus. There's swag bags involved and other perks along the way that are included in the bus ride to go there. I'm not sure what the cost is.
Do you know how someone would find out about that? Is there a website?
Yeah, the way to find out about this Fallout Fans Day that comes in November every year, it used to be a 2-day event. This year it's a 3-day event. If you go to friendsofthefort.org, you'll find that information there. It's an Eventbrite sign-up kind of thing, but the information is on friendsofthefort.org.
What if somebody that isn't a Fallout fan and they come to the fort? Are the fans usually really receptive and respectful to others?
The Fallout fan base is the best ever. I cannot emphasize how awesome they are. They're just kind, cordial people that are just fans of this video game from 2010. So what's really cool is even the people that aren't Fallout fans come and they're interested in this and surprised to find out that this place is in a video game. Even some Fallout fans didn't know this was an actual place. They thought it was just a place in the game. They didn't know it was a real life place. What they do often, the Fallout fans, is make a pilgrimage from one place in the video game to the next. And we're along that way. Almost every fan we meet is going to all the places in the game, in the Las Vegas Valley.
With the TV show on Amazon Prime, it's supposed to be focused on Vegas this upcoming season. I think it comes out in December.
That's right.
Has any of the producers or anything reached out to the fort?
We've not been reached out to. We would love if they did. That would be amazing. We're really stoked about the Amazon series coming out because it is going to be based in Las Vegas this season. And we're really excited about that. We have no idea if the fort's going to play a role in that series this season.
Wouldn't it be great if you tied in the Pioneer Saloon, Atomic Museum, and the fort like you're doing, but got some guest signings or something?
That would be great. I wish we could have some of the Amazon Prime series cast or members embrace the actual locations in Las Vegas. We would definitely welcome that. I'm sure Pioneer Saloon would too. Yep, we'd love that. Now we're in the upper floor of the Bastion, a place nobody ever comes. This is open during Fallout days in November to Fallout fans. There's a ladder that comes up here. That is the only time we open it. And why is it relevant what the upstairs of the Bastion or tower of the fort is? Well, in the game Fallout, this is Julie Farcus's office, and this is where the coveted snow globe is hidden. So we keep a snow globe here, and we have it decorated with all Fallout things so that it looks somewhat like Julie Farcus's office. And like I said, during Fallout days is the only time anybody ever gets to come and see this room. This room is identical to the one below, except below there's a dirt floor. And simply in 1855, the Mormon missionaries built this tower here, one on this corner and one on the opposite corner diagonally, as a lookout. There was never any conflict at this fort. There were no fights, but it was rather the architecture of the period in 1855 to fortify yourself. And you can see that the windows are angled like this, so that if they were to put a rifle at the window, they wouldn't be standing directly in the window, rather off to the side. And from here, you could have views around the Las Vegas Valley as far as the eye could see. This was the only structure in the whole Las Vegas Valley when it was built in 1855, 56, 57.
What kind of guns did they have?
I don't know the rifles that they had at the period. I'm not familiar with their weaponry. I just know that these windows were built like that. And like I said, I think it's just the architecture of forts that they build the windows like this.
How has the Fallout fan event been going today?
Today is the first day of the event for us, and it's going great. The weather's holding out. We have a blacksmith on site doing demonstrations. We have tours of the Bastion that aren't usually open normally during the year. We have photo opportunities for fans. A food truck. It's going really, really well. And the fans started trickling in days ago. So it's been really great to just start engaging with the fans and talking all things Fallout.
How does today compare to the other events you've had here?
Today, this is our biggest event of the year now. Fallout Fans Days are our biggest days now. It used to be different events where we do Indigenous Peoples Day and Nevada-ween and things like that. And they're quite different events. They're usually family days. This is totally for game fans and Amazon Prime series fans. And they love it.
For people that don't know, what is the historical connection between the fort and the world of Fallout?
Yeah, the historical connection is that in the game, in a post-apocalyptic setting, of course, Las Vegas was obliterated. And the fort remnants were remaining. So the followers of the apocalypse decided to make this a hospital. And in real life, this is a fort. What you see behind me is a recreation of the fort. The oldest standing building in Nevada is on this site. So I think they used it in the game because it was a good fortification area to protect the followers of the apocalypse and anybody who came in. And not unlike 1855 when the Mormon missionaries built it. So that's the historical significance, it being a fort, I think.
What's the most interesting fan reaction you've gotten today?
The most interesting fan reaction to people today came, and you would have thought this was just, they were just amazed that they were here on the site that was in the game. A lot of people don't even know this is a real site, so they were touching the walls as if it was religious experience or something. It was amazing. So the couple of fans were like that. They just said, I can't believe I'm here. And I thought that was really amazing because I think we've all had that experience someplace. And for them, it's here.
What was the other one?
Another girl was just enamored to meet me, which I was just like, what? But she had seen me on YouTube or TikTok or something, and she was just like giddy to meet me. Her name was Margaret, and I thought that was fascinating. And someone from New Hampshire said they knew who I was. That's kind of blown my mind because that's just not what you think as a park ranger.
The reactions because I read the comments, and the reactions I've got about the video are very positive, and everybody seems to really embrace your attitude and what you stand for when it comes to the Fallout community. They really appreciate that you appreciate them. And in fact, there's been some comments about making you a non-playable character where they walk up to you and they're able to discuss things with the fort with you in the game. Is that something that you might be interested in?
That's very cool. I would be interested. I don't know if I'd fit into a post-apocalyptic setting, but I'd be down.
I think they were saying that they could make you a ghoul that's been around for a couple hundred
That'd
years.
be awesome. That'd be great. It's just frankly quite fascinating that people are so shocked that we're welcoming them. I think everybody in Las Vegas should welcome Fallout fans. The series coming out in December is going to be based in Las Vegas. Every location should embrace Fallout fans. That's how I feel about it. They're the best people. As I've mentioned before in videos, respectful, hilarious, welcoming, warm, intelligent. They're just amazing people. Everybody should embrace them.
Yeah, and it's not widely known that gamers spend a lot of money. It would boost the economy here. I mean, because they have gaming events that sell out, Mandalay Bay or whatever.
Yeah.
And they have esports or hypersports, whatever they call it, at the Luxor. So there is a market for it. And you agree that Vegas should be embracing that like they do F1 and the Raiders.
Totally. And I remember I just saw Old Man Liver at the Pioneer Saloon was saying, we're not going to have a blow up like that. It's not ever going to be unaffordable.
So if we do start making it, charging enough to stay under what other Comic-Cons are doing, I hear people paying hundreds of dollars for tickets for just a regular ticket to different conventions, and then they're overcharged while they're there. And I don't ever want to be that guy. We don't ever want it to be a corporate feeling event. It's got to be an Old Man Liver event.
This should be events or, times that the people can afford and enjoy and not make it so that they can't. And I think this is the first year it's gone to 3 days. We're only doing 2. We're open Friday and Saturday. But every year I look forward to adding something else to this site that makes it more and more like the game. So every year they come, I hope there's something else.
That brings up the next question I have. What preparations went into putting this together for the Fallout Fan Day?
Yeah, thank goodness for our volunteer organization, Friends of the Fort.
I am Phyllis Weaver. I'm the Secretary-Treasurer of Friends of the Fort. Friends of the Fort has been around since the 80s. We went dormant for a little bit, but we picked up again in the late 90s. We assist the old Las Vegas Mormon Fort State Historic Park with various events and activities, fundraisers to enhance the area, such as our brick area. And we worked with the Fallout people last year and this year. I did not know how big Fallout New Vegas was until I met all these people coming. And it's been a great experience to see how dedicated these people are. They come in the costume and have all the gear, the weird guns and everything. And it's been pretty cool to watch them come in and experience the old fort.
What has been the most eye-opening thing about the fans? You said that they come in costumes and everything. What's the attitude that they usually have and things like that?
They've been very pleasant. They're actually quite excited to be here. They'll go through the fort, point out areas where they've done gameplay. They'll do the photo ops. They have a blast here. I haven't seen anybody upset or anything. They come in here and they have a great time.
Is there something that they bring up that they do in the game that surprises you about the fort, or like sections of the fort that you explore?
The fact that the fort is in a video game that takes place several hundred years in the future totally surprised me. And the fact that it is used as a hospital is actually somewhat appropriate for this site. And the people are actually great at explaining things that happen here.
What would you say to the Fallout fan community about coming next year and the years to come?
Oh, please come. We enjoy this event. We have a great time meeting people and hearing your stories.
They have this amazing bus, the Benny bus, that they take people from the area of the Pioneer Saloon, Buffalo Bills, and they bring them here into the Atomic Museum, which has also gone all out this year for Fallout. So there's the volunteers. You have to have volunteers to do it. And each year we try to get more props. I'd love to have them from Bethesda or Obsidian so that they're authentic in our museum. But for example, this year, the Bastion's always been decorated on the upper floor. That's where the snow globe's hidden in the gate. And this year we decorated the bottom floor. So Julie Farcus is in there and some lab equipment because that's how it looks in the game. We try to put things out like the sandbags around the flag. That's how it is in the game. And tents out on the grounds. That's how it is in the game. So anything that we can make it look more authentic, that's what we try to do. And that's what we do. We try to get as many props and photo ops as we can for the Fallout fans.
What part of the site do fans ask about the most?
What part of the site do they ask about? They don't really ask much about it. They just go around. So we try to point out the Bastion because in the game, you quest for the snow globe that's up in the Bastion. So we make sure to tell them to go there. And only today and tomorrow, during Fallout Fan Days, can you go up in the Bastion. So it's a really special experience.
Is there a section besides that you wish people noticed more, Fallout fans?
Is there a section I wish they recognized more? No, because not only do they come here for the game, a lot of them like the historic value of this state park too. This is a state park. It is the oldest standing structure in all of Nevada, and it's preserved. So I think it's really neat that they're history/gaming buffs.
There have been some comments that said that it was very nice of you to build this after the game. So hopefully they understand that this was an actual location.
Yeah, this became a state park in 1991. Of course, the original fort was built in 1855, and the game came out in 2010. So you're right, Chad, we predated the game.
If a Fallout developer came here tomorrow, what would you show them first?
Fallout developer came here tomorrow, I'd show them the Bastion, what it really looks like. Myself and the fans know, for example, that when you go in our Bastion, there's actually a ladder. And in the game, it's more of a enclosed staircase you go up. But it's funny, I would love to know how the developers knew what the fort looked like to begin with. You know, did they just use Google images? Have they been here? I would love to interact with the developers and find out more.
Hopefully they can watch this video and they will reach out to you.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Are you excited about the show?
Oh, I'm so excited. I saw the trailer just came out yesterday. Oh my gosh, it's fantastic. I can't wait to see it. I watched the first season, and I'll be honest, I'm not a gamer. I haven't played the game, but I've researched it just for site prep. And for the Fallout fans, I know more and more about it every time. They're informative. But the series really gets you hooked. It's so well done. I'm really stoked for the second season coming out about New Vegas in December.
What's your favorite character in the show?
My favorite character in the show, I think it's Lucy. I think that's her name. The girl. I really like her. She's pretty awesome.
If people want to purchase the snow globes, do they have to do that here at the fort, or can they buy them online?
They have to purchase them here at the fort. We don't have the ability to ship them. And we hand make each kit. We make the kits without water in the snow globe so that they can travel with them and not be caught by TSA saying there's liquid in them. So we create the kits here, and you do have to buy them on site. Occasionally we have snow globe making classes, which are really fun, but they're all sold here on site.
What's something you would like to tell the Fallout fans about the event next year, or the fort in general?
Yeah, Fallout fans, we hope every year that you come here that there's something new for you to see. Whether you've been here year after year, keep coming, because we want to keep growing. And we'll take any suggestions you have, like what would you like to see here at the fort next time for Fallout Days?
How would they reach someone to give those suggestions? On the website?
Yeah, Nevada State Parks has a website. Go to the Old Las Vegas Mormon Fort, and we have an email there. You can email us or call us anytime.
Sherry, thanks a lot for doing this. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure, always.
Thanks for watching Untitled Interview. If you liked the conversation you just watched, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. If you're interested, there's lots more just like that right here.